This is the story of his daughter died 4 years ago. Yet at 1 a.m. she whispered, "Dad, open up." The Black Millionaire froze as it truly unfolded. Marcus Wellington had built an empire from nothing, transforming a single food truck into a chain of restaurants that stretched across 3 states. The mahogany walls of his penthouse office were lined with awards, photographs with celebrities, and newspaper clippings chronicling his rise from the projects of Detroit to the Forbes list. But none of those accolades could fill the void that had consumed him for 4 years, 3 months, and 16 days. The clock on his desk read 12:47 a.m. when he finally closed his laptop. Another 18-hour day, another attempt to drown himself in work until exhaustion claimed him. The silence of his mansion felt heavier at night, pressing against his chest like a physical weight. He loosened his tie and walked through the marble hallways, past the family portraits that he could no longer bear to look at directly. Amara's room remained exactly as she had left it. Pink walls adorned with her artwork, a half-finished puzzle on the desk, her favorite stuffed elephant sitting on the bed as if waiting for her return. Marcus paused at the doorway, as he did every night, his hand gripping the frame until his knuckles went white. The doctors had said it was quick, that the cancer took her before she could suffer too much, but Marcus knew better. He had seen the fear in her 8-year-old eyes during those final weeks, the way she tried to be brave for him, even as her small body failed her. The guilt was a living thing inside him, feeding on every memory. He should have caught it sooner, should have insisted on more tests when she complained of being tired, should have been a better father instead of chasing deals and expanding his business while his daughter needed him most. The money meant nothing now. The success felt like ash in his mouth. If you've ever lost someone who meant everything to you, you'll understand why some stories need to be told, no matter how dark they become. Marcus made his way to the master bedroom, the one he had shared with his wife Sarah before grief drove them apart. She had moved to California 6 months after the funeral, unable to bear the weight of their shared sorrow. "We're drowning each other," she had whispered through tears as she packed her bags. "Maybe apart, we can learn to breathe again." He hadn't fought her. How could he, when he was barely surviving himself? The bedroom felt cavernous now, filled with shadows that seemed to shift and breathe in the moonlight, filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. These same hands had held Amara during her first steps, had braided her hair before school, had signed the papers that put her in the ground. Sleep came in fragments, haunted by dreams that felt more real than his waking hours. In them, Amara was always just out of reach, calling his name from rooms he couldn't find, laughing in voices that echoed from empty hallways. He would wake gasping, his heart hammering against his ribs, only to find himself alone in the darkness once again. It was 1:03 a.m. when the sound came. 3 soft knocks on his bedroom door, followed by a voice that stopped his heart cold. "Dad, open up!" Marcus sat bolt upright, his body trembling as if he'd been struck by lightning. The voice was unmistakable, the same gentle cadence, the slight lisp from the gap between her front teeth that she had been so self-conscious about. It was Amara's voice, as clear and real as if she were standing right outside his door. "Amara," his voice cracked, barely a whisper. Silence. Marcus stumbled from the bed, his legs unsteady beneath him. The hardwood floor was cold against his bare feet as he approached the door, his hand hovering over the handle. His rational mind screamed that this was impossible, that grief had finally broken him completely. But his father's heart, the part of him that had died with his daughter, surged with desperate hope. "Baby girl, is that you?" Another knock, softer this time, almost tentative. "Please, Dad, I'm scared." The words shattered something inside him. Marcus yanked open the door, expecting to find empty hallway, expecting to confirm his descent into madness. Instead, he found himself face to face with a small figure in a pink nightgown, her dark curls framing a face he knew better than his own. But something was wrong. Her skin had a translucent quality, as if she were made of moonlight and memory. Her eyes, once bright with mischief and wonder, now held depths that seemed ancient, sorrowful, and when she smiled, it was with the weight of knowledge no child should possess. "Hi, Daddy." Marcus dropped to his knees, his hands reaching out but stopping just short of touching her. "This isn't real. You're not real. I'm as real as your love for me," Amara said, her voice carrying an echo that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Oh, I'm as real as your pain. You died. I watched them lower you into the ground. I threw dirt on your coffin." The words tore from his throat like broken glass. "I know." She stepped closer, and Marcus could smell her shampoo, the same strawberry scent that had clung to her hair. "But death isn't the end of love, is it? It's just the beginning of a different kind of story." Marcus's vision blurred with tears. "I failed you. I should have saved you. You couldn't have saved me from what was always going to happen." Amara's form flickered slightly, like a candle flame in a gentle breeze. But you can still save someone else." "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, Amara turned and began walking down the hallway. Marcus followed, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. She moved with purpose, leading him through his own house as if she knew exactly where she was going. They descended the grand staircase, past the living room with its unused fireplace, past the kitchen where he rarely cooked anymore. She stopped at a door he rarely opened, the entrance to his home office, separate from the one at his corporate headquarters. This was where he had worked in the early days, where he had built his first business plan while Amara colored at a small desk beside him. "Open it," she said. Marcus's hand shook as he turned the handle. The room was exactly as he had left it months ago, dusty, filled with boxes of old files and forgotten dreams. But Amara walked directly to his old computer, the one he had replaced years ago but never thrown away. "Turn it on." "Amara, I don't understand. Please, Daddy, trust me." The computer wheezed to life, its ancient fan whirring in protest. The desktop appeared, cluttered with folders and documents from a simpler time. Amara pointed to an icon he didn't recognize, a folder labeled Second Chances. "Click it." Inside the folder was a single document, dated 4 years ago, the day before Amara's diagnosis. Marcus's breath caught as he read the title, "The Amara Wellington Foundation, providing early cancer screening for underserved children." The document was detailed, comprehensive, outlining a plan to establish mobile screening units that would visit schools and community centers in low-income neighborhoods. It included partnerships with hospitals, funding strategies, and implementation timelines. At the bottom was a note in his own handwriting, "For every child who deserves the chance we almost missed." Marcus stared at the screen, his mind reeling. He had no memory of creating this document, no recollection of this plan, yet here it was, in his own words, his own vision. "I don't remember writing this." "You wrote it the night before we got my diagnosis," Amara said softly. "You had been worried about my symptoms for weeks, but you were too scared to voice your fears. So instead, you poured your anxiety into this plan, this hope that maybe you could help other children if the worst happened to me. But why don't I remember? Because grief has a way of stealing our light along with our loved ones. You buried this dream with me, convinced that you had failed, that you didn't deserve to help anyone else." Marcus scrolled through the document, seeing the careful research, the passionate language, the detailed budget projections. This wasn't the work of a few hours. This represented weeks of planning, of hope, of determination to make a difference. "What would you do if you discovered a part of yourself you thought was lost forever?" "The foundation could save lives," Amara continued. "Early detection is everything with pediatric cancer. You know this better than anyone. But I couldn't save you. You weren't supposed to save me, Dad. You were supposed to love me, and you did that perfectly." Her image began to flicker more intensely now, becoming translucent. "But you can save others. You can make sure no parent has to wonder, what if, the way you do." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest, like ice beginning to thaw. "How do I know this will work? How do I know I won't fail again?" "You don't. But that's not the point. The point is trying. The point is turning your pain into purpose, your loss into love, for children you'll never meet, but whose lives you can change. The computer screen began to dim, and Amara's form grew fainter. Marcus reached out desperately, his hand passing through her like she was made of mist. "Don't go. Please, baby girl. Don't leave me again. I never left you, Daddy. I've been here every time you've helped someone else, every time you've chosen kindness over bitterness, every time you've remembered that love is stronger than loss." Her voice was growing distant now, echoing as if from a great depth. "I'll be there when you save the first child, and the 10th and the 100th. I'll be in every early diagnosis, every successful treatment, every family that gets to stay whole. Amara, start with one mobile unit. Partner with Dr. Martinez at Children's Hospital. She remembers me, and she believes in this vision. The funding is already there. In the account you've been ignoring. You have everything you need except the courage to begin." The room was growing brighter now, filled with a warm light that seemed to emanate from Amara herself. Marcus could feel her love surrounding him, filling the hollow spaces in his chest that had ached for so long. "I love you, Daddy. And I'm so proud of the man you are, not just the man you think you should have been. I love you too, baby girl, forever and always. Forever and always," she whispered, and then she was gone. Marcus sat alone in the office as dawn broke through the windows, painting the walls in shades of gold and hope. The computer screen still glowed, the foundation document still open, waiting. His phone lay beside the keyboard, Dr. Martinez's number still in his contacts from the dark days of Amara's treatment. For the first time in 4 years, Marcus Wellington felt something other than grief. He felt purpose. 3 months later, the first Amara Wellington Foundation mobile screening unit pulled into the parking lot of Roosevelt Elementary School. The bright pink vehicle, Amara's favorite color, was equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and staffed by pediatric specialists who volunteered their time. Dr. Martinez stood beside Marcus as they watched children line up for their free screenings, their parents grateful for care they couldn't otherwise afford. "She would have loved this," Dr. Martinez said softly. "She does love it," Marcus replied, watching a little girl with curls like Amara's skip toward the unit, her mother's hand in hers. "And I can feel her here." By the end of the first year, the foundation had screened over 3,000 children and caught 12 cases of cancer in their early stages, 12 families who would not have to endure what Marcus had suffered, 12 children who would grow up because someone cared enough to look. Marcus still missed Amara every day. The grief hadn't disappeared. It had transformed into something else, something that drove him forward instead of holding him back. He had learned that love doesn't end with death. It evolves. It grows. It finds new ways to touch the world. On the anniversary of Amara's death, Marcus visited her grave for the first time since the funeral. He brought pink roses and a photo of the Foundation's newest mobile unit, painted with her name in flowing script across the side. "We did it, baby girl," he whispered to the headstone. "We're saving them." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the sound of children's laughter from the playground across the street. Marcus smiled, knowing that somewhere in that sound was his daughter's voice, eternal and joyful, reminding him that love is the only force strong enough to transform tragedy into triumph. As he walked back to his car, Marcus felt a familiar presence beside him, not visible this time, but unmistakable. Amara was there, as she always would be, in every life saved, every family preserved, every moment when love proved stronger than loss. The Amara Wellington Foundation would go on to save hundreds of lives, but its greatest achievement was saving one man from drowning in his grief and teaching him that sometimes the most powerful way to honor the dead is to fight for the living. If this story reminded you that love transcends every ending, that purpose can bloom from the deepest pain, share it with someone who needs to remember that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to create light.